moving Missouri forward at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
Attention! This is a public notice from the Social Security Disability Helpline. If you're one of the millions of Americans who are disabled and unable to work, you may be eligible for disability benefits from Social Security. Receiving benefits is your right. If you suffer from physical or mental disability, whether you're applying for the first time or you've already been denied, we can help. We'll evaluate your situation and deal with Social Security on your behalf. Best of all, there's no fee until you receive your benefits. Remember, we only get paid if you win your case. There are many reasons and conditions that may make you eligible for disability benefits. Many of them you may not be aware of. So if you're disabled and unable to work, call now to get started with your free, no-obligation consultation.
800-797-0711. 800-797-0711. 800-797-0711. That's 800-797-0711.
KLTY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNVS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm John Scott. Republican Senator Tom Cotton is condemning the latest indictment against former President Trump. Bob Agnew reports.
Senator Tom Cotton told Fox News after skimming the indictment, it seems like what he called something that you'd get from an MSNBC producer for a special on that channel. The indictment charges Trump with conspiracy to defraud the U.S. over his claims of election fraud, costing him the 2020 election. Senator Cotton notes the former president's words and actions following the election were all constitutionally protected. Trump supporters say a string of indictments, this one being the third, is designed to keep the former president from reclaiming the White House in 2024. Bob Agnew reporting.
Also at townhall.com, the gunman who stormed a synagogue in the heart of Pittsburgh's Jewish community and killed 11 worshipers has been formally sentenced to death. A federal judge imposed the sentence one day after a jury determined that capital punishment was appropriate for Robert Bowers for the deadliest attack on Jews in U.S. history. Saudi Arabia says it will extend its unilateral production cut of 1 million barrels of oil a day through the end of September in its effort to boost flagging energy prices. GasBuddy.com's Patrick DeHaan says the extended cuts by Saudi Arabia won't help when it comes to filling up your car or truck.
It certainly puts a damper on things moving forward. The Saudis maintaining a pretty tight balance of supply and demand and potentially pushing the market more towards the side of imbalance. That's part of the reason why oil prices have rallied for 5 straight weeks. The price of oil now at $81 a barrel. The
Saudi move was expected by analysts. On Wall Street, the Dow is up 1 point. The S&P 500 is down 1 point. More at townhall.com.
Attention, your money is now controlled by the U.S. government.
Picture a world where your every purchase is monitored, tracked, and controlled by those in power to suppress the freedoms of those they see fit. Hi, my name is Jason Hansen. I'm a former CIA officer and New York Times bestselling author. And right now, I've become very focused on the impending rollout of the central bank digital currency. This is not a work of fiction. It's a terrifying reality looming on the horizon. But there is a bit of good news. I've partnered with Advantage Gold to offer you a solution. They are specialists in converting your traditional assets, like those inside an IRA or 401k, into tangible assets such as physical gold and silver. Don't allow your money to be controlled. Claim your free gold protection kit from Advantage Gold. Call 800-900-8000, 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000.
Advantage Gold is not an investment advisor or a tax advisor.
Call 800-900.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm News 4 meteorologist Matt Chambers with your first alert forecast. Scattered rain and thunderstorms taper off early, but that's after resulting in some flash flooding in a few spots outside of the St. Louis metro. It's cloudy this morning, a few breaks of sun this afternoon, turning muggy, a high of 86. Little to no rain expected this afternoon. A low chance of a shower or storm tonight, but mainly dry, down to 74. Friday, partly cloudy and warmer, up to 90 with a 20% chance of rain. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
In 2023, fans welcomed Wilson Contreras to the Cardinals family. And on Saturday, August 5th, we celebrate him with his first gate giveaway. That day, 25,000 fans ages 16 and older will go home with their own Wilson Contreras home white Cardinals jersey, courtesy of Stiefel. That's not all. 10,000 fans ages 20 and younger will also receive a baseball card pack thanks to Topps. For details or tickets, visit cardinals.com/promotions.
This is Wilson Contreras. See you at the ballpark.
Sunday, August 6th, the Cardinals host the Rockies, and there's a giveaway for fans of all ages. That day, 10,000 fans ages 16 and older will get an exclusive Cardinals and MLB Network hat, and 10,000 kids ages 15 and younger will take home a Tommy Evans growth chart thanks to Missouri Farmers Care. Stay after the game for the post-game High Chew Kids Run the Bases. That's Sunday, August 6th, the Cardinals and the Rockies. For more ticket information, visit cardinals.com/promotions.
This is Tommy Edmond. See you at the ballpark.
This Saturday night at 10 on Stories of New Americans.
I'm joined by Vicente Estrada, and he's from Cuba.
You know, there is a quota of what you can buy food-wise. You know, you can only buy so many eggs per month and so forth. People are suffering. I said that with tears in my eyes. The people are suffering.
Stories of New Americans, Saturday nights at 10 on News Talk STL.
This hour of Colombo and Katie brought to you by Gutter Pros. Water goes where we tell it. Call 314-656-7195 or visit them at gutterpros.com. Tony Colombo.
Libertarianism.
Here on Colombo and Katie on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Once again, I am in studio. My name is Tony Colombo. If you are watching on the live stream on the Colombo and Katie YouTube channel or the News Talk STL Rumble page or the News Talk STL Facebook page or Twitter page, X page, whatever you want to call it, you will see that Katie Fitzpatrick is not in the studio. Joey V back on the wheels of steel. But Katie is with us, working from home again today. Still feeling under the weather, but putting in the work.
We are pushing through anything for Colombo.
Pushing
we
through.
just push through.
You doing okay?
I am doing so much better, but my God, sometimes you just get like so much congestion where it's like, I was going to tell you this. I am so sorry for everyone if I'm just a complete mouth breather today. Like, I'm sorry to Joey, especially because he's going to have to hear me on the breaks, but also to you, Tony. I'm sorry if I'm just a complete mouth breather.
No, you sound totally fine. You sound great.
Great.
So don't worry about it whatsoever. We have got a lot to talk about today, so Katie, of course, will be with us for the whole show, just not in studio again today, and we are going to talk to Dr. Randy Tobler, as we do every Thursday afternoon. That is in just about an hour from now, a little bit after 3 o'clock. Also today, we are going to talk to Missouri State Representative Justin Sparks. He's going to join us in just a few minutes here in the next 10 minutes or so. So looking forward to that conversation with Representative Sparks because there's a whole lot of news to unpack. Every day we learn something new. And there's some really interesting stories today that are not your typical news story. For example, there is I don't know if you saw this, Katie, a very famous New York Times columnist, David Brooks, who is well known for his progressive take, and he's somebody who has attacked Republicans and specifically attacked Donald Trump in the past. He wrote an article yesterday. He published an article yesterday that basically tore down the left-wing establishment media, which he is a part of, and he's admitting to that has basically alienated the whole country. He's
oh my gosh.
He's like admitting to, he's basically admitting to, we're the ones to blame for any type of popularity. Now, he does it's a little bit condescending. We'll get into it a little bit later on, but it is a little bit of a self-awareness that he's basically saying, we're the ones that are preaching togetherness and equality and all of that, but we separate ourselves from everybody else, and we put people into groups, and it's really amazing.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And I have something to add when we get into that story about someone that I saw that had this exact same sentiment, who is also a far left progressive person that is a celebrity. So this is great that you're going to read this story, because I just happened upon something very similar to this situation.
Yeah, like I said, a New York Times article critiquing the media is not usually
That's great.
It's not usually a news story, but in this case, I believe that it is. So I definitely want to have that conversation as we go through the show today. But let's start with the latest coming out of the Devin Archer testimony. So the transcripts have been released. I was trying to read. It's 140 pages. I couldn't get through all of it before the show. But interesting stuff, because now we can see it for ourselves and know who's telling the truth and who's not telling the truth. Because, as we talked about, Katie, both sides kind of claimed victory after the testimony on Monday. The Democrats came out and said, look, he confirmed and backed up all the statements that the Bidens have been making, that Joe never talked about Hunter's business dealings, and he never, and so the Democrats were saying that, and saying that the testimony was really good for their side, and Republicans were, obviously the big headline was the 20 times that Joe Biden was put on the phone with Hunter's business partners to promote the brand. So it looked like, there was something there from the Republican side. Well, now we are getting the details from the transcripts themselves. Devin Archer told congressional investigators that Hunter Biden used then Vice President Joe Biden as defensive leverage, his words, quote, defensive leverage, to send, quote, the right signals to his foreign business partners while selling him as the brand that offered capabilities and reach, as well as unique understanding of Washington, D.C. So all of these terms are in quotes, because these are the things that Devin Archer said. So he said that, again, he said the term defensive leverage. Hunter Biden used Joe Biden as defensive leverage. He used them to, quote, send the right signals. He used him to, quote, promote the brand, and offered, quote, capabilities and reach. So Archer told investigators that Hunter Biden used his very powerful name to, quote, add value in pitching and securing foreign business ventures. Okay, here we go. Archer said Hunter Biden, quote, would not be so overt or overtly say, we're going to use my dad for this, but instead he would use the name to, quote, get leverage. So the Democrats, and this is kind of what I said either on Monday or Tuesday when we were talking about this, that the Democrats are clearly, sticking to the pure dictionary definition of the words that were said. And so they can get away with, saying he never said, he never mentioned his business dealings. Joe never got on the phone and talked business, and Hunter and Joe never talked business in front of Devin Archer. Like, technically that is all true. However, Devin Archer's testimony and what we're learning today paints a more clear picture of what was happening. And I think it's exactly what we all thought was happening. Archer said again that Biden would not be so overt or overtly say, we're going to use my dad for this, but instead he would use the name of his father to, quote, get leverage. Quote, the value that Hunter Biden brought to it was having, there was the theoretical was corporate governments. And this is obviously his direct quotes, so sorry for the mistakes in grammar. He goes on to say, quote, but obviously given the brand, that was a large part of the value. I don't think it was the sole value, but I do think that was a key component of the value, unquote. Archer told investigators that Hunter put his father, then Vice President Joe Biden, on speakerphone while meeting with business partners at least 20 times. Archer described how Joe Biden was put on the phone to, quote, sell the brand. Quote, you aren't talking about Dr. Jill or anybody else. You're talking about Joe Biden. Is that fair to say? Archer was asked. Archer replied, quote, yeah, that's fair to say. Obviously, that brought the most value to the brand. It was Hunter Biden and him, Archer said. He goes on to say, quote, we would discuss having, an understanding of D.C., and that was a differentiating component of us being able to raise the capital. So that is him.
Wow.
That is Devin Archer saying that Hunter Biden would put his dad on the phone or reference his dad in these business meetings without ever specifically saying, you're going to get this, or you're going to have access to this, or he's going to do. He never said that directly, but this is Devin Archer confirming that was the feeling, the theme, what Hunter was clearly trying to convey without specifically saying it. Referring
I
to,
just think it's.
Go ahead.
I just think it's so interesting that now we have this transcript, which is incredibly important. You and I have put an emphasis on how important a transcript like this is, because before we've had access to this, we've just had to have confidence in either the GOP representative or the Democratic representative of the Oversight Committee. We just had to take their word on what was said in that meeting for the last 2-3 days. And now that we have this transcript and we hear the kind of language that's being used to not necessarily say what we all know that they're trying to say, but manipulate it, because they are, Hunter is stupid, but they're smart enough to know that this is being documented. This could be recorded, and we have to use the right language so that if we're caught in a predicament, we have this, so that it isn't that textbook definition like you just said, Tony.
And
smart.
As many people have pointed out, the vice president and the president of the United States cannot just jump on a call. That all has to be approved, documented. That's just how it is when you're in that office. So it's not a casual situation where it's like, oh, you'll never believe it. I'm having dinner with Dad right now. Dad, say hi. It's not.
You know what's crazy, Tony?
Works.
To what you're saying, Devin Archer, and I'm sure we're going to get into this later, but just quickly, Devin Archer was on with Tucker Carlson last night. And he, by the way, smiley dude, smiling the entire interview. I'm like, what?
He is loving that he is the center of, he's the belle of the ball. And he's digging
He
it.
loves it.
Mhm.
So he's on with Tucker last night, and this instance kind of came up where Devin Archer was explaining to Tucker, this is the pinnacle of power. You do not get to have these unscripted, these calls that don't have an agenda with the president or the vice president. Every single thing is always a scheduled meeting, a scheduled call. But Hunter basically had the power to say, like, well, my dad's going to jump on this call and my dad's going to be a part of this. And to the rest of us, that is the pinnacle of power, that we get to have that conversation with such a strong figure. And so, to your point, I mean, these things aren't casual. These things are not like, hey, buddy, I'm just going to talk to your friend and tell him how the weather is and then hop off the phone.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's one more piece of this. And again, this was just released, these transcripts, 144 pages. So we are going to be learning a whole lot more in the next few hours and coming days. So I'm sure we're just getting started here. But I think this one is really interesting and kind of drives home the point that we're making here. Referring to Burisma, Archer told investigators that Hunter Biden used the, quote, brand of Joe Biden for having, quote, doors opened, which, quote, sent the right signals for Burisma to carry on its business and be successful. Quote, my only thought is that I think Burisma would have gone out of business if it didn't have the brand attached to it, Archer said. When asked to clarify, Archer said that he believed Burisma was, quote, able to survive for as long as they did just because of the brand. And again, brand is Joe Biden. Like, that's what we're learning. That, at least that's how I interpret what I read today, is that the brand is specifically referring to Joe Biden, not the Biden way or the Biden, the way they do things or anything like that, or a company or whatever, or a group. That the brand is basically specifically a reference to Joe Biden. At least that's how I read it after reading more today. So let me finish this, and then I want to get your thoughts on it. So Archer clarified that he believed that Burisma was able to survive for as long as they did, quote, just because of the brand. He says, quote, because people would be intimidated to mess with them. In what way? Archer was asked. Quote, legally, he responded. President Biden and the White House have repeatedly denied ever being in business with his son and have repeatedly said that President Biden never discussed the businesses and never had any knowledge about his son's business dealings. But Archer testified that then Vice President Biden attended dinners with Hunter's foreign business associates, including a dinner with an executive of Burisma Holdings. How about that?
Incredible. Incredible. I mean, and that is completely correct, Tony. And that's kind of what we were talking about on Monday or Tuesday when this came out about selling the brand. The big guy and the brand are both Joe Biden. It is about his influence. It's about his decision making. It is about what he can do and how he can persuade whatever he needs to involving Hunter and Burisma. But I also think I just think it's baffling that when you listen to this testimony of Devin Archer and he's asked how many times he heard the then vice president's voice on this phone, on speakerphone, he says 20 plus times. I mean, there is no denying that the absolute fix, the center of all of this is Joe Biden.
Yeah. Yep. And now, as if it could get any more ridiculous, but now the Democrats and the Biden administration, the president himself, wants us to believe, because again, they are still sticking to this. He may have gotten on the phone, he may have talked to certain people, but he was not discussing Hunter's business dealings, and he had no knowledge of those business dealings. So, as we're supposed to believe that he just got on the phone with these people and never asked Hunter Biden who that was, what are you guys working on? What are you doing together? So we're supposed to believe that he jumped on the phone 20 plus times and never asked or gained or had any knowledge of the business dealings between the people he was talking to and his son. But now we're supposed to believe that he went to dinner with his son and a Burisma executive. And at that dinner, it was never brought up that Hunter Biden and the Burisma executive are in any kind of business relationship whatsoever.
I had no idea.
Joe, they never said that, and Joe never asked. It just was a random, as far as Joe's concerned, it was just some random pairing, some random gathering.
Getting a steak dinner with a random
We're
person.
supposed to believe that Joe Biden had dinner with his son and a Burisma executive and had no knowledge during that dinner, before that dinner, after that dinner, of any type of business relationship between the people he was having dinner with, one of which being his son. I mean, this
ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. But they don't seem to be backing down. They're sticking to this. Look, he never heard him say, he never heard Joe or Hunter directly say anything about the business relationship. So
that's embarrassing.
Yeah,
that's embarrassing
it is.
Not to just admit it.
It is. It is embarrassing. And it makes you look dumb. But there's lawyers out there going, but it's still, you got to have the evidence. It's still facts. I don't know. At some point, I think circumstantial evidence paints a very clear picture of what was going on. All right, we are going to switch gears, and we are going to talk to Missouri State Representative Justin Sparks here in just a moment. There is a new bill in the state of Louisiana that is regarding schools and displaying the slogan, "In God We Trust." New law going to effect in Louisiana and a bunch of other states. I want to talk to Representative Sparks about that discussion or similar ones that may or may not be happening here in the state of Missouri. Also, Dick Durbin and Samuel Alito are in a war of words about the Supreme Court. And I will fill you in on that as well as we go through the afternoon here. Lots to talk about on Colombo and Katie on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Follow us on Rumble at News Talk STL. Constitution at a crossroads. Join the Hammond Institute at News Talk STL September 15th at View 17 with special guest Judge Douglas H. Ginsburg with an engaging discussion about the current state of the U.S. Constitution. Get your free tickets at hammondinstitute.org.
Last week we had Josh Jones from TJ's Pizza here in, he was on the phone. I was going to say in studio with us, but he was on the show with us. And we were talking about, TJ's Pizza and how long they've been in the community and how many schools and churches and kids' sports teams and dance clubs and gymnastics teams and so many other things that TJ's Pizza has helped with over the years with their fundraising. And they are just about to turn 40 years old. That is absolutely incredible. It is a St. Louis institution, and TJ's Pizza is only getting better and better with age as far as the effectiveness, the ease of fundraising. If you belong to an organization like a school or a church, or your kids are, especially this time of year with summer sports and activities in full swing, if your kids belong to a team that needs uniforms or equipment or money for travel or anything like that, there is no better way to raise big money fast than with a TJ's Pizza fundraiser. They have the digital fundraising, the online fundraising, which has been an absolute game changer. They have other fundraising options that you can take advantage of. Again, all geared at making it as easy and effective as possible for you to meet your fundraising goals and to meet them as quickly as possible. They have great customer service, especially if it's your first fundraiser or your first fundraiser in a long time. They'll help you every step of the way to make sure that you are meeting your goals. They have great profit margins, and, of course, they have amazing products. People love TJ's Pizzas, and that is why, the bottom line is why they are so successful. So 40 years of TJ's Pizza, and it's only getting better. If you need to raise big money now, get started at tjspizza.com.
Southern Armory, your hometown gun store. Come and be more than just a customer. Southern Armory, we carry the best guns, holsters, knives, magazines, ammunition, and even food storage. Special orders are welcome. Southern Armory, 1 mile east of 270 and 44, 9901 Watson Road, and southernarmory.com. That's southernarmory.com.
Whether you're purchasing your first firearm or adding to your collection at Southern Armory, you're more than a customer, you're part of the family. Follow Southern Armory on Facebook or at southernarmory.com.
These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
What's up?
I'm tired of feeling so bloated.
That used to be me. Then I got this.
Align Bloating Relief plus food digestion. A probiotic, right?
Yeah, it works naturally with your gut to help soothe occasional bloating and gas. Plus, it has vitamin B12 to aid digestion by helping convert food to cellular energy. 2 benefits, 1 capsule.
Align Bloating Relief plus food digestion from the #1 doctor-recommended probiotic brand. Learn more at alignprobiotics.com.
Did you know that feeling sluggish or weighed down could be signs that your digestive system isn't working at its best? But taking Metamucil every day can help. Metamucil supports your daily digestive health using a special plant-based fiber called psyllium. Psyllium works by forming a gel in your digestive system to trap and remove the waste that weighs you down. Metamucil's gelling action also helps to promote heart health and slows down sugar absorption to promote healthy blood sugar levels. Start feeling lighter and more energetic by taking Metamucil every day.
The White House Report, brought to you by Gutter Pros. Water goes where we tell it. Call 314-656-7195 or visit them at gutterpros.com. Stream Colombo and Katie at newstalkstl.com.
Welcome back to Colombo and Katie on 1019-94.1 News Talk STL. Tony Colombo here in studio with producer Joey V running the ship over there as Katie is out but on the line working from home, a little under the weather, so staying at home but doing the damn thing, and is with us and joining us on the line also now is Missouri State Representative Justin Sparks. Justin, as always, thank you for your time this afternoon. And we had Rodney Boyd on the show yesterday. I cannot believe, I feel like you were on the show with us talking about the end of the Missouri legislative session, and that it's August. That was months ago. I cannot believe how fast time is flying, but still lots going on here in the state of Missouri and across the country. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on, Tony.
Yeah, you bet. So I have a couple specific questions that I want to, and topics that I want to ask you about, but it being, a couple months removed from the session, and I think there will be the special session coming up at some point here, right, in the next few weeks. So I know you guys have got that on the schedule. What else this time of year right now? What is it? Is it a kind of a slow period for you guys, or are you still working on legislation and issues, even though we're kind of between sessions right now?
Yeah, great question. I mean, it's actually, this is supposed to be, in air quotes, the time to reconnect with your family because you didn't see them for the whole session,
Right.
And that's just the nature of the beast. But that is not how it actually goes. This part-time legislation or part-time legislator job is very much full-time, strangely enough, and that's what we sign up for. I have no complaints. I love meeting with constituents, and I love listening to their concerns because I share them. I share their concerns when they see the former president being targeted some would say arbitrarily, on his third indictment, while our current president seems to get a pass from the Department of Justice. And so I hear those concerns. I share those concerns. And frankly, I'll be honest with you, not to, be a doom and gloomer, but I don't like where this leads, Tony. I don't like where we're going.
Yeah, and in the first segment, just a moment ago, we were talking about the brand new transcripts. Speaking of the two-tier justice system and the way it's being applied to Donald Trump, with now 3 indictments and a possible 4th one on the way, and the Biden still walking around like, there's nothing wrong. The transcripts from the testimony from Devin Archer with the House Oversight Committee, it was released today, and we were talking about, and they were just released not very long ago. I was trying to read as much as I could before the show today, but there's more to come. Katie and I broke a lot of those down in the first segment. I highly recommend, as I always do, to make sure you're subscribed to the podcast so you can go back and listen. But it just gets worse, Justin. I mean, the bottom line is it just gets worse. We learned today that maybe it's true, because this is what the Democrats are sticking to. Maybe it's true that Joe Biden and Hunter Biden never specifically, said in a meeting or on the phone, about the details of a scheme or a business relationship or whatever. But as we are learning even more, very specifically now from Devin Archer's testimony, is that it was very much inferred. It was very much, it made clear to people that Joe Biden is in the room, or Joe Biden is aware of the conversation, and how much you can benefit from that. I mean, it's more clear than ever. Like, it needed to be any more clear, but it's more clear than ever. But it it highlights the two-tier justice system, does it not?
You're exactly right. This is the political filth that has infected our system for so long. The wink, wink, nod, nod. You know exactly what I'm saying. I need this amount of money for the big guy. It's all implied. It's implicit. What's the difference? What's the difference, between somebody actually explicitly saying it out, or the result is the same? You're getting paid off for influence. You're getting paid off for access to the vice president or the president through the president's kid. Look, we're from Missouri, thank God. And Missouri people, Midwestern people, are very matter-of-fact, common-sense folks, aren't we? And, you see something, and you just call it what it is. And that's what we do. That's what that is. And everybody knows it. Wink, wink, nod, nod. Don't care if the New York Times or the Washington Post or any other garbage rag doesn't publish it. The truth is it happened. So what are we going to do about it? Because we have this train on this track coming from the left and coming from the right. And it is on a collision course, head on. And unless we do something radical to divert the direction this country is going, it leads to violence. I promise you. And I will do anything to avoid that. I will try and do anything and speak until my voice is gone, because we don't want that.
Talking to Missouri State Representative Justin Sparks, and as I mentioned, Katie is a little under the weather, so she's not in the studio today, but she is on the line, and I know she's got questions. Katie, go ahead.
Hey, Justin, I just wanted to ask you, since we've been watching all of this testimony unfold, and now Devin Archer was also on Tucker Carlson last night, Tony and I have been laughing because he is sure a smiley guy. I mean, he looks like he is on cloud 9 right now. That leads me to be a little bit suspicious of him. How trustworthy is a guy like Devin Archer to begin with?
Not at all. He's obviously sleazeball. I mean, come on. It's like, guys, when you saw him, when he's coming into the courthouse, and you're like, oh, gosh, of course this is the guy that they're in business with, right? Just dripping with, oh, he's a fixer. The guy's a fixer.
Yeah. He was the belle of the ball. He could not be more happy that all the cameras were pointed to him.
no, I mean, what does that say? Like, oh my gosh, this. No, so this is the problem we always had, in criminal investigations is, there's no honor among thieves, the old adage, So it's like, how much can we believe? What is he trying to get right now? Well, I tend to look at what people have to gain from a certain situation or lose. And he's already looking at having to go to prison for I guess, defrauding Native Americans. I don't know.
Yeah, it is something like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so he's facing jail time anyway, but it's not like he's being offered a deal to speak, right? He's not, as far as I know, it doesn't seem like he's being offered anything in order to get out of his current predicament. He's just having the opportunity. He's like, well, you guys are going to throw me under the bus. I'm going to spill the beans.
Mm-hmm.
And that's interesting to me because and we're going to continue to see what comes out of this because this little trickle, this stream has turned into a creek, has turned into a river, and eventually turns into a tsunami. Where does it end? I think it ends with the president is no longer the president. That's me personally, though.
Well, we'll see. Katie, it was Paul Kurtman, I think, that said this week, I'll believe it when I see it.
Yes.
I'd like to think that there's overwhelming evidence and that there has to be some kind of action taken. But unfortunately, when it comes to the swamp, especially when it comes to the swamp and the Democrats, I'll believe it when I see it. They'll launch a fourth indictment against Donald Trump, but the Bidens continue, as we mentioned, just to walk around like nothing's wrong. Talking to State Representative Justin Sparks, but Justin, you alluded a moment ago to you've been in public service for 1 year, but you've been before that in a career in law enforcement, not from a lawyer standpoint, but from a police officer standpoint. And I'd like to ask you, with that in mind, thinking back to your experience in law enforcement, a lot of legal experts, a lot of lawyers will say, look, it can be inferred that, it doesn't, if Hunter and Joe are, inferring the influence and the deal or whatever, you got to have the evidence. If they didn't say it and you don't have record of them saying it, it's going to be a difficult thing to prosecute. My question is, and I said it a moment ago before we had you on the line, at some point, doesn't circumstantial evidence kick in? I mean, did we have to have a recording of Joe Biden or Hunter Biden saying that Joe Biden cut a deal for $10 million to influence American policy? I mean, it's as plain as day.
Right.
So, I mean, from your law enforcement background, have we seen enough evidence that we could move forward on a legal procedure if this wasn't obviously the president?
Yes. The short answer to your question is, yeah, there is evidence, and I'm not a lawyer, not speaking that way.
Sure.
But just as a person looking from the outside in, there seems to be plenty of evidence to cross the threshold of at least moving forward with an investigation. 100%. That's a no-brainer. But here's what I would tell you. In terms of trying to prove something beyond a reasonable doubt, criminal procedures versus civil procedures, these things, the threshold, yeah, it's there. The evidence can even be there. But what we're seeing is a complete breakdown of the system, okay? So what I mean is this. Certain judges, certain districts, certain counties, certain cities have a completely different expectation of justice, being blind or impartial. And here's what we know. We know that this is true because we know now, shot for a judge, for example, Trump's third indictment, look at the judge he gets, an Obama-appointed judge that has been doling out the most ridiculous, in my opinion, punishments for January 6th people, right? Of course that's the judge he gets, right? All of this can be manipulated. The system is breaking down. It should be. It doesn't matter what judge you get. It doesn't matter what district you go to. It doesn't matter where you go to file these cases. It shouldn't matter, and yet it does. And that's why when we're saying, well, first of all, who's going to prosecute this? The Department of Justice?
Yeah.
Which attorney general?
Right.
Who's going to go down this road? We're not even talking about proving the case against the Bidens. This is insane.
Yeah.
And so you were talking earlier, like not having a whole lot of confidence that the president is maybe, or his son actually ever faces
to account,
justice,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
right? Yeah. Well, maybe not in the traditional sense that you're thinking of, right? But and I would even tell you that I think Democrats would go down this road even stronger if he was a more popular or competent president, but he's not. And I think that has a lot to do with what we're going to see here in the next 6 to 9 to 12 months. I think personally, Tony, Katie, I think all bets are off the table. I think we're going to see something we've never seen before in this country. And, I mean, that's really not too hard to say what we've witnessed over the last 3 to 4 years anyway. But I think the old way of doing business, the traditional way of like of a Richard Nixon getting caught, covering garbage up and doing the right thing and resigning, and then, of course, getting pardoned by Ford, I think we're outside the realm. I think that we really need to start thinking outside the box of what's going to happen in our country. I think they'll go as long as they possibly can, and then we're going to see something, personally.
That is Justin Sparks. We're almost out of time. I wanted to quickly switch gears, and maybe we could pick this conversation up next time we have you on. There was a headline that grabbed my attention today about the state of Louisiana. They just enacted a law requiring "In God We Trust" be displayed at all public schools. That law goes into effect in the state of Louisiana as of today. And this law, what's interesting about it is it was supported and signed by the Democrat governor in that state. And similar laws have been passed recently in states like Florida, Arkansas, South Dakota, Tennessee, South Carolina, and Texas. Before we let you go, I just wanted to ask Justin if there was any conversation related to this or just schools in general. Like, what is on the plate, at least for you? What are you working on as we prepare for another session here in the state of Missouri?
I love that idea, and I would love to see it in Missouri. And here's the reason why. In 1962, we took prayer out of schools. By any metric at all, has schools gotten better? Have test scores gone up? Or, right?
Right.
It's so easy.
Yeah.
This is objective reality. You can just see what has happened in our schools since you remove God or even the Judeo-Christian principles upon which our nation is based and founded.
Yeah. The Pledge of
There's nothing wrong
Allegiance.
with that.
They did take the Pledge of Allegiance out of schools, which is crazy.
That's exactly
to me.
right. And that's when you unmoor your institutions from the founding principles, right? What happens? It's a ship. It's a rudderless ship in the ocean.
Yep.
And and you can look all over the country. It's the same. Look at our major cities. What we have is culture and moral decay. It's everywhere. And you have to ask yourself why, right? People criticize me, and I say people on the left, because I'm a Christian and I'm outspoken about it. I don't tell you that you have to believe the same way I do. And saying "In God we trust," it doesn't force anybody to trust in God. It's simple declaration that this is where we come from.
Yeah.
And frankly, the evidence is overwhelming. We were talking about evidence earlier. Let's talk about evidence now. The evidence is overwhelming. If a people are moral and they're connected to a belief in the Creator, the Judeo-Christian, in our case of America, founding principles, then your people are productive. They themselves are moral. They themselves hold themselves to a higher standard of righteousness and truth. And that's what we're missing, both in our schools, in our government, and in all of our institutions.
Yeah, it's not
rocket science.
It's not religious zealots that put that motto, that slogan, or that type of language in across the country. It was the founding fathers. I think it's such a great point. Justin Sparks, really appreciate your time as always, and look forward to talking to you again very soon, my friend. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, Tony. Feel better, Katie.
Great stuff there from Missouri State Representative Justin Sparks. All right, we are going to talk to Dr. Randy Tobler in a little bit, just after 3 o'clock. And in just a moment, we are going to be joined in studio. We've got a lot of friends coming over these days.
Yeah.
I think everybody's showing up because you're not here. I think there's some.
I think they like
there
you.
seems
they
to
hate
be
me.
some kind of connection here. Our buddy Jeremiah from A Plus Plumbing is in the building, and he'll be joining us in studio here in just a moment on Colombo and Katie on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Follow us on Rumble at News Talk STL.
Streets
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
It's Thursday, and at 4:25, we'll speak with Dakota Wood from the Heritage Foundation on why Space Command is remaining in Colorado.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL.
Are you wanting to improve the look and efficiency of your home? Well, one of the best and easiest ways you can do that, get some new windows. Window World, simply the best for less. You can give them a call today at 314-993-1800. Over 20 years in the business in the St. Louis area, over 70,000 satisfied customers. That's because Window World uses double strength glass, gives it a strength not commonly used in replacement windows. They've got the Good Housekeeping seal of approval. They've got 18 months, same as cash financing. You can get them today. 314-993-1800. WindowWorld.com. That's WindowWorld.com.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
We've got to take some time out.
Hey, Vic.
Yeah.
I ordered a chicken and an egg online. I'll let you know what comes first.
Yeah. I saw a cartoon with a chicken and an egg in bed and the egg smoking a cigarette. I said, well, I guess that answers that question.
Oh, no!
We're back in 5 on News Talk STL.
Whoosh. Vic Porcelli, live and local weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL. Sundays at 5 on News Talk STL.
That's what happens if you're a Republican and you're accused of lying to the FBI.
Mark McCloskey on fire.
What does the FBI do? The FBI lies to Congress. The Attorney General lies to Congress. The Director of Homeland Security lies to Congress. And then what happens? Nothing happens.
Mark McCloskey on fire.
Because as we all know now, the FBI, the DOJ have become nothing more than the enforcement arm of the leftist government.
Sundays at 5 on News Talk STL. This hour of Colombo and Katie brought to you by Gutter Pros. Water goes where we tell it. Call 314-656-7195 or visit them at gutterpros.com. You're listening to Colombo and Katie.
Welcome back to Colombo and Katie on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Tony Colombo here in studio with Joey V. Katie is under the weather again, but on the line with us, just not in studio. And in studio is Jeremiah from A Plus Plumbing and Drain, one of the great supporters of this radio station, but much longer than that, a great friend of mine and somebody that I go way back with. Even before there was an A Plus Plumbing and Drain.
Yeah.
Great to see you, Jeremiah. Thanks for coming in.
Good. Thanks, Tony. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you bet. So, for people that I want to, I have some questions and I want to tell some stories, but first, I just want people to kind of be introduced to you because I think that your story is such a great one, and I think it's the kind of story in business that people that listen to this radio station love to support because you are talk about a family-owned small business that started from nothing and has grown over the last few years and continues to grow. It's just a great story. So tell folks about A Plus Plumbing and Drain and kind of the, how you got to where you are.
Yeah. So I started out with a commercial company and we were pretty much low on the totem pole. We did grease trap cleaning and septic tank cleaning and stuff. It wasn't fun. It wasn't good. I put my time in there, put a lot of time in there, and started learning a lot of stuff about plumbing. Got to hang out with some really cool master plumbers that showed me a bunch of stuff and kind of did some on-the-job training, if you would, and did that for several years. And then I started my business about 7 years ago, and I told my wife at the time that, I just feel like it's what we need to do. And she kind of took care of the business part of it, and I took care of the getting the plumbing done and making the contacts and everything. And I knew a lot of cool people from my job previous to, and I just kind of started spanning out and doing it. And now, it's me. My daughter runs the office now, and I've got my son-in-law works for me, my brother-in-law, and a couple other guys, and we're just close, tight group.
And what's so cool is that, the work speaks for itself because now here you are, you're advertising on the radio. You've got trucks with your, vans with your name on it, driving up and down the highways. But you don't get to that point. That's not how things started. People didn't hear about you first because of your radio commercial. They heard about you through word of mouth because the service, the work that you provide is
Actually, when I started doing this, I actually started with a Craigslist ad briefly, and I met a couple people through there, and I started building my customer base. Yeah, and then like when I met you, I was working for your neighbor and his brother, and he said, "Hey man, I know a guy," and I said, "I'll help him out with his bathroom, whatever." In fact, I don't even know that I had a van the first time I came over to your house.
No,
I might have been my little pickup truck at that time.
Yeah.
But
and then one job turns into two more jobs because you do such a great job, and then you get another regular customer. And
and that's what I tell all the guys is we're going out here, and it's the name of the company's A+, and it's a plumbing company, but at the end of the day, it's us, and it's what we do. And if we don't take pride in what we do and we don't do a good job, people aren't going to call us back, and they ain't going to have a job.
Yeah. So I've talked about A+ quite a bit over the last couple of weeks. If you've heard me talking about Jeremiah and his company, you guys specialize in home renovation and new construction. Obviously, you can do anything, but I think that there's so much of that right now, like renovation or flippers, people like that.
Yeah.
And I would imagine that opens up a tremendous amount of work for you.
So we morphed into primarily doing like fire and flood restoration jobs and new construction. We work with a couple builders, and then we're constantly getting new builders that are saying, "Hey, my plumber can't get to this," or whatever. And our thing is, we try to get in and knock our jobs out as quick as possible and make it work with everybody's timelines. We do a lot of stuff with real estate people because they'll be selling a house and they'll be under the gun to get a sewer line dug up and repaired or something like that, and that's a finite amount of time they've got to work before closing. So typically we do whatever needs to be done to get it taken care of. And I mean, you've seen the way we work. If we got to come out on a Saturday, we got to stay late one day, we're going to make it happen. So
I'm telling you, that's what sets you apart. And I think that's what people love to support, is a family-owned local business that started from scratch and through nothing more than insisting on being the best has grown and continues to grow. So I can't recommend A+ Plumbing and Drain enough. If you have any plumbing needs, again, any plumbing needs, they have you covered. But specifically, if new build or home renovation or new construction, A+ and Jeremiah's team definitely the ones to call. Does this rain, these storms that we've had lately, does that impact you in any way, or is that a different type of water and different type of plumbing?
So yeah, you're talking about water in general. It's a different type of water altogether, but it's what we consider stormwater. So you got sanitary, you got stormwater. It's no longer legal really to mix the two. However, you get down into the city parts and some of the inlets and area drains are tied into the sanitary storm system. And the biggest thing I have with it is we'll get a lot of calls after a heavy rain about somebody's basement's got water leaking in it, and a lot of times people get nervous about having a bunch of foundation work done because they see this water coming in. A lot of times if you just look around the outside of your house and maybe look at the gutters and look at the way the water's flowing, maybe walk out there when it is raining and see the water trail that it's leaving, you can almost cure a good portion of those problems just by rerouting water, getting some, diverters at the end of your downspouts, making sure the gutters are clean just in general. I mean, really the water should not be coming over the edge of the gutters and sitting up against the foundation. So we get a lot of stuff like that. And, we're happy to go out and show somebody, hey, I don't think you really have a huge problem, but you might want to, put a little concrete pad here, or they sell little plastic landing pads for the water to go underneath the downspout. So a lot of times that'll solve little issues like that.
Right. Unfortunately, just about out of time. We're talking to Jeremiah Burpo from A+ Plumbing and Drain. If people want to learn more, and I think also see the pictures of the work that you guys do, the Facebook page, A+ Plumbing and Drain on Facebook, that's the best way to get a hold of you and learn more about the company. Is that correct?
Yeah, for sure. And if you hit follow, I mean, you don't necessarily have to look at all our stuff, but the problem is you probably don't need a plumber right now.
Yeah.
But a week from now, you're going to have something break, and you're going to say, man, I wish I remembered that guy on the radio. And if you're following us, all you got to do is go to Facebook. Everybody's on Facebook.
That's
all the
exactly
time,
right. And that has, what you just explained is exactly what, ever since we met, I don't panic anymore if I have a plumbing issue like I used to.
I'll tell your buddy
Because I have
Mark
somebody I
Close
trust.
remembers it. So.
Yep. And when you have somebody that you can trust in an industry like that, it makes all the difference in the world. And I can't recommend A+ Plumbing and Drain enough. Jeremiah, thanks so much for coming in. Great to see you this afternoon, my
Thanks,
friend.
Tony. It was great seeing you. And your boy is getting huge, man. At the birthday party, I couldn't believe him. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, he was running around having the time of his life.
Big guy James. So.
Yeah.
All right.
That's Jeremiah, A+ Plumbing and Drain on Facebook. Dr. Randy Tolbert joins us next on Colombo and Katie.
Live in St. Charles County? Then you can get Mid-Rivers News Magazine delivered free to your home just by asking for it. Mid-Rivers News Magazine is the only print source for the political, school, business, and sports news happening in your hometown. Simply visit midriversnewsmagazine.com/subscribe to get a copy delivered to your mailbox. Or you can pick up a free copy at all area Deerbergs and Schnuck stores. Mid-Rivers News Magazine. Anybody who wants it gets it. Anybody who gets it wants it. Subscribe for free today.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness 101. Wellness 101 is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on News Talk STL. For more information, visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm John Scott. Republican Senator Ted Cruz says the judge chosen to oversee the latest charges against Donald Trump has a history of being relentlessly hostile to the former president. Correspondent Bob Agnew reports.
On his The Verdict podcast, a popular conservative senator said the judge in the case, U.S. District Judge Tanya Chutkan, has what he calls a reputation for being far left, even by D.C. District Court standards. Cruz notes the judge has set aside several federal death penalty cases and has issued strong sentences against January 6th defendants, in some cases longer than those recommended by prosecutors. Cruz calls the likelihood a D.C. jury will vote to convict the former president exceptionally high. Bob Agnew reporting.
The former president is in the Washington, D.C. courtroom now for arraignment. Also at townhall.com, Saudi Arabia says it will extend its production cut of 1 million barrels of oil a day through the end of September.
Patrick DeHaan is the senior oil analyst with GasBuddy.com.
It certainly puts a damper on things moving forward. The Saudis maintaining a pretty tight balance of supply and demand and potentially pushing the market more towards the side of imbalance. That's part of the reason why oil prices have rallied for 5 straight weeks. The price of oil now at $81 a barrel.
Which has pushed gas prices up over 20 cents in the last week to an average of $3.80 a gallon.
Absent a major hurricane, the increases should stop here in the next few days, and then we should stabilize, and maybe we'll drop just a little bit.
I'm Shelley Adler.
The number of Americans seeking unemployment benefits rose slightly last week, rose 6,000 to 227,000, according to the Labor Department. A lower close on Wall Street. The Dow was down 67 points, and the NASDAQ lost 13. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Relief Factor, pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
Attention, your money is now controlled by the U.S. government.
Picture a world where your every purchase is monitored, tracked, and controlled by those in power to suppress the freedoms of those they see fit. My name is Jason Hansen. I've become very focused on the impending rollout of the central bank digital currency. I've partnered with Advantage Gold to offer you a solution. Claim your free gold protection kit from Advantage Gold. Call 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000.
Advantage Gold is not an investment advisor or a tax advisor.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm News 4 meteorologist Matt Chambers with your first alert forecast. Scattered rain and thunderstorms taper off early, but that's after resulting in some flash flooding in a few spots outside of the St. Louis metro. It's cloudy this morning, a few breaks of sun this afternoon, turning muggy, a high of 86. Little to no rain expected this afternoon. A low chance of a shower or storm tonight, but mainly dry, down to 74. Friday, partly cloudy and warmer, up to 90 with a 20% chance of rain. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
News commentary.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis invited Vice President Kamala Harris to meet with him to discuss the state's new Black History curriculum, but shocker, she declined. I'm Tommy Lahren. More next.
Starting August 22nd, the U.S. dollar may have new competition from a new global supercurrency backed by Russia and China. And if the dollar plummets, your retirement could follow. Hi, Stephen K. Bannon. I recommend a gold IRA from Birch Gold Group. To learn more, get a free info kit on gold by texting the word SHELTER to 989898. I encourage you to act. Before August 22nd, text SHELTER to 989898 to get your free information kit on gold now.
Big hoopla over Florida's new Black History curriculum, with even some notable voices on the right voicing concern over a small part of the instruction regarding how slaves developed skills which in some instances could be applied for their personal benefit. Kamala too pounced on that line, declaring it to be extremist propaganda designed to indoctrinate children. Regardless of your personal take on that line of instruction, it is important to note that the College Board's Advanced Placement African American Studies course contains almost the same language as Florida's new African American History curriculum written for middle schoolers. But either way, if Kamala is so fired up, why not go to Tallahassee and meet with the governor to debate and discuss? Is her schedule of selfie taking and awkward laughing just too demanding? I think not. The real reason she declined is obvious. She doesn't know what she's talking about, and hint, hint, she never does. I'm Tommy Lahren.
So many ways to listen to News Talk STL. Enable our Alexa skill.
Hello.
Hey, Alexa.
Yes, I'm listening.
Play News Talk STL.
Welcome to News Talk STL, conservative talk radio for St. Louis.
Welcome home to St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
Democrats do what they do.
We choose truth over facts. News, analysis, and opinion.
Whoosh.
We're very happy to see 12 months in a row of year-over-year inflation decelerating.
Surely we do not live in a two-tier judicial system. And just because your last name's Biden, you shouldn't be treated differently.
101.9 and 94.1.
It's a battle for free speech against the left. It's the topics that matter to me.
News Talk STL. So many ways to listen to News Talk STL.
Come join the conversation.
Enable our Alexa skill. Hey, Alexa, play News Talk STL.
Welcome to News Talk STL, conservative talk radio for St. Louis.
Always streaming at newstalkstl.com or on your radio at 101.9, 94.1, and 99.1 HD3. News Talk STL. News, analysis, and opinion. Welcome home. Follow us on Rumble at News Talk STL.
Welcome back to Colombo and Katie on 119 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Big thanks to Jeremiah from A Plus Plumbing and Drain for joining us in studio in that last segment. Also, before that, talked to Missouri State Representative Justin Sparks. If you missed any of those conversations, make sure you are subscribed to the Colombo and Katie podcast so that doesn't happen again. We put out every day's show as a podcast shortly after we get off the air, so you never have to miss anything that happens here on Colombo and Katie. I'm Tony. I'm here in studio. Katie is on the line with us from home, a little under the weather, but working from home. Joey V in studio with us here on the Wheels of Steel. And joining us on the line now, as he does every Thursday afternoon at this time, is the great Dr. Randy Tobler, who you can hear every Saturday morning here on News Talk STL. And Doc, I don't know how much you've had a chance to look at it, but we are getting some of the actual transcripts from Devin Archer, and the story, the picture just keeps getting more and more corrupt and worse for the Bidens. Really glad you're here with us this afternoon, Doc. And yeah, another crazy news day, isn't it?
It sure is. I mean, as we're watching Trump get arrested for the third time, this is like a circus. I look at the transcript. I listen to Catherine Herridge's reporting from CBS, and it's clear that one of the big losers here on this whole story is Representative Dan Goldman, who absolutely embarrassed himself on Monday when, having been there, sitting there, listening to it, absolutely misrepresented this as nothing more than just a conversation about the storm clouds with Joe Biden on the phone. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And the words like they leveraged Joe. I mean, Joe was, for all practical purposes, a salesman. He was a closer salesman.
Yes.
Who hasn't been part of that kind of a deal? It happened to me the other day with actually I'm glad I bought the product, okay? But, I had talked with the initial salesperson, and then they brought the regional sales manager, and that was the closer because the deal sweetened a little bit, and that's the way these things go. And so he was paid eventually, though. I think we'll find out. This is speculation. No, not so much speculation. Don't you think that he was paid by Hunter doing that 50% of everything he earned, paying for Dad's, this is clearly he was giving his services as vice president of the United States in kind to be paid later for a business deal.
So I don't want to repeat everything that we said earlier in the show. As I mentioned, the podcast, go back and make sure you listen. And these transcripts were just released today, and there's more and more details coming out. I tried to read as much as I could before the show today, but I'm sure there's more information to be coming out. But to your point, Doc, basically what we're learning now that we see the actual words, the actual testimony of what was said, was the Democrats are still. It's not just the congressman in New York. It's the Democrats in the White House. They're still sticking with this narrative where I guess they're technically right that the president never directly said, or Hunter Biden never directly gave details in a conversation or discussed details about a scheme or an agreement or anything like that. But Devin Archer's testimony said that they were clearly using the president, the then vice president, as leverage, and they were inferring that by having Joe on the team, that would grant them access and influence to certain things. Devin Archer said that maybe they never said it directly, but it was clearly the intent of those conversations. So the Democrats are looking, I don't know if they think that we're stupid or if they're stupid, but they're acting like, that just because there was no direct quote of a business deal, that somehow means that it didn't happen when it so clearly did.
I mean, this is mortally wounding to Joe Biden from a political sense. And I agree with you. Look, you take Biden, who probably knew enough not to make any overt promises that anyone could say they heard or that could be recorded, over a phone line or whatever. But clearly this was unethical behavior on the part of the president of the United States. And what's more, I can't help but think that these statements, if you could ever get him under oath to say that he never discussed business with his son, I mean, what about the 2011 letter to Devin Archer that Tucker revealed last night? And I think Archer was surprised by it, or I guess it was Tuesday night during the Tucker's Twitter thing with Archer, that basically it was a typed letter with, hey, sir, I couldn't get away from the president at that time of China. And then he to come and talk to you, and he hand wrote, "I'm glad you and Hunter are together," meaning in their business, their new formed business relationship, which was strategic regulations, management. Holy cow! I mean, so he never talked to Hunter. I mean, really?
Yeah.
I mean, there's just so much there.
Well, we learned that not only did he join on 20 different phone calls, but he went to dinner with Hunter Biden and a Burisma executive. And we're supposed to believe that he went to dinner with Hunter Biden, a Burisma executive, and not only didn't discuss business at the dinner, also had no knowledge that Hunter and this guy were in business to begin with. I mean, the whole thing is so absolutely
but
absurd.
Wait a minute. I think there was a typo in the transcript because, it said it was at Cafe Milano, but I think it was actually TGIF, which is absolutely the longest menu in the world. You go to TGIF, you can spend the whole night looking at the menu and never talk about business.
That is Dr. Randy Tobler. Of course, you can hear Doc every Saturday morning at 6 a.m. here on News Talk STL. And Doc, I don't know if you heard me say Katie is on the line from home because she's not feeling well. She may need a diagnosis from you as we continue the conversation here. But Katie, I know also with all this that's happening with the Bidens, there's also a lot happening with Donald Trump. And I know you wanted to talk about that a little bit.
Yes, Dr. Tobler, Trump's attorney actually just spoke about 25 minutes ago outside of the courthouse with former President Trump inside. She said this is election interference at its finest against the leading candidate right now for president for either party. President Trump is under siege in a way that we have never seen before. I wanted to get your thoughts on what's going on with this Trump indictment and those comments specifically.
It's interesting. They're coming out very, very aggressively, his team, and I can understand why. I mean, this is really sort of an existential question as to, can a president, not believe what some of his advisors say? Does he have that right, not only as president, but by an American citizen? I mean, it's being reported that, well, in the indictment, it says that, he was told by someone in the room that the DOJ said, no, the DOJ said, no, you're wrong, Mr. President. This thing is not, you lost the election. There's not 250,000 votes out there. And he just chose not to believe that. And he chose to believe his attorney at that point. And he was asking questions. Well, what can we do this? Can we do that? Now, there are perhaps some questions in terms of fabricating lists of electors that and planning to propose those when maybe according to some either law or protocol that's not what you do. I mean, there's probably going to be more to emerge in terms of some other procedural things that they either did or plan to do, and that may legally get them in a little hot water. But this issue about a guy and I think he's wrong. I think he lost the election. And at least if he didn't, there was a time when he probably should have just said, okay, let's look towards 24 and move forward. That's a whole other discussion. Mm-hmm. But every time he's on the air, whether it's TV, whether it's on the stage, it's always about the election was stolen. The election was stolen. I think the guy believed it and was going to do whatever he thought he could do within constitutional, even the fringes of constitutional legitimacy to do it. And I just don't know how that passes the muster as far as being a crime.
And Doc, through it all, Katie and I have talked a lot about this over the last few days. Former President Trump's popularity only continues to grow. Ron DeSantis, long way to go, but I think a lot of us I think the whole country was ready for, Ron DeSantis is going to make his announcement and it's going to be a showdown and it's going to be these two big names and personalities and it's going to, Ron DeSantis is going to give Donald Trump a real run for that nomination. And again, still very early, but that is not developed in any way whatsoever. Trump has not only held his lead, has increased his lead, and Ron DeSantis has not done anything to gain any more popularity.
And you know what's so wickedly, devilishly, hilariously ironic about the whole thing is, why is he being catapulted more and more to wider and wider margins of acceptance and favor? Mm-hmm. The left, the people who have championed a victim mentality, right? And we've commiserated over that. Oh my gosh, can everyone stop being a victim? Guess what? It's coming back to, at least in the primary season, it's coming back to hurt them unless that's what they want. And that's the only thing I can figure at this point. Because
people don't
created the ultimate victim here.
Yeah, people don't like when something doesn't appear to be fair. That is something that upsets people and motivates people on both sides of the aisle. And look, maybe Donald Trump committed a crime, and if he did, he should be held accountable. But there is no rational person in this country that can look at the way that the justice system is being applied to Donald Trump and the way it is being applied or not being applied to the Bidens, and not clearly recognize that there is a two-tier justice system. And that is something that people, when they see that unfairness, when they see somebody that's being, targeted over somebody else with more connections or privilege or whatever it may be, it motivates people. And I think that's definitely, to your point, I think that has spurred Trump and his popularity on as much or more than anything else, is that people think that he's being unfairly attacked.
And expanding on what you said about, fairness. Look, this is going to be a needle-threading election if Trump gets the nomination and then wins. I mean, I think any way you cut it. There are entrenched people that would not vote for Trump literally if they were on the gallows and it was vote Trump or get hung. They'd rather get hung. I mean, that's just – and there's a substantial number of people like that. However, those people in the middle that we've always talked about and we recognize are going to make the difference. They want fairness. And this is where I think the secrets – if I was Donald Trump, I would pick my legal team as much for their prowess in getting me, keeping me out of jail, but almost equally for being able to express some humility, maybe concede a little something that wouldn't get you, wouldn't keep you in jail, but concede a little, you know what? My client is he's a loose cannon sometimes when it comes to speech. But hey, how were you at the last barbecue after you had a beer? Have you ever said something that was maybe a little bit, if someone can in his behalf make him seem human. And look, some of the things, can you find 30,000 votes? Of course, he wasn't asking to manufacture guys. He was just saying, hey, come on, it got to be out there somewhere, right? You're a fellow Republican. Someone that can have just that little humility, because he's utterly incapable of it. I think that plus the fairness thing could win over enough of the middle to put him back in the Oval Office.
Yeah, I mean, that is the way it's playing out right now, certainly, with a whole lot of time for things to change, but that is definitely how it is playing out at this point. I wanted to, while we still have a few minutes left here with Dr. Randy Tobler, I wanted to expand on a story that I touched on earlier. And, Doc, we talk about this two-tier justice system and the way that the news has been reported over the last several years, and, the two sides and the messaging and all of that. Something that shocked a lot of people in the established media happened yesterday when anti-Trump New York Times columnist David Brooks published an article in the New York Times, not attacking Donald Trump or the Republicans like he usually does, pointing out that it's the media, it's in taking some blame for himself, while still staying a little elite. That's my opinion. You can develop yours here in a moment. But basically saying that, we as the progressive left preach unity and togetherness, but we're the ones that are doing all the segregating and dividing in this country. So I want to give you a little bit of this column, and I want to get your thoughts on it. And Katie, I want to get your thoughts on it as well. Again, this is from David Brooks, anti-Trump New York Times columnist. He said, quote, I ask you to try on a vantage point in which the anti-Trumpers are not the eternal good guys. In fact, we are the bad guys. Brooks wrote in a column, over the last decades, we've taken over whole professions and locked everyone else out. The column detailed how the educated class imagine themselves as the forces of progress and enlightenment to appease their own egos as part of a broader tale that paints them as enlightened and Trump supporters as bigots and fools. Brooks pointed out that in the media world, that was once a working class profession, Ivy League and other elite level college graduates have come to dominate major newsrooms. He said, quote, when I began my journalism career in Chicago in the 1980s, there were still some old crusty working class guys around the newsroom. Now we're not only a college dominated profession, we're an elite college dominated profession. Brooks wrote that members of the liberal elite also segregate ourselves into a few booming metro areas like San Francisco, Washington, D.C., and Austin. The educated class dominance also extends to politics on a national level, he wrote. Armed with all kinds of economic, cultural, and political power, we support policies that help ourselves. I'm not going to read all of it he does. He does kind of paint the picture of we're still the smartest people on the block, but we've not done a good enough job of showing everybody how smart we are. There's still a little bit of that elite is dripping from it from my interpretation. But man, talk about some self-awareness of, we walk around as the progressive left and the elite media trying to tell everybody that we're smarter and better. And maybe people don't like that.
Sounds like a bit of a mea culpa, although looking at Times readership and how their reputation has plummeted, I'm thinking maybe that's his draft for his application to work for The Hill. What do you think? I mean, I don't know. He's always been a crino, a conservative reporter in name only, right? I mean, he's their token, sort of right kind of a guy. And good for him.
But he's a Trump basher. He's called Trump a monster, and he's not somebody that can be accused of carrying water for Republicans or Donald Trump.
No, but I think what he's doing is just trying to actually, boy, how cynical is this? I think he's actually just trying to build up some political capital that the elite anti-Trumpers have spent. Okay, well, once in a while we overreach, but we still got the right idea. We just haven't checked ourselves on a couple of occasions. So come on now, listen to us anyway, because we still know, as you said, we still know what's good for you, America, because we're the smart ones.
Katie, he said this, and I know that this is something that that is a buzzword that you hate. He mentioned some of the terms that the progressive left or the elite media, in his words, use that have turned people off, including using language like problematic, cisgender, and Latinx.
It's just insane. And, Tony, you brought this up earlier, and I just have one quick thing to add. I don't watch this program, but I know it's very popular, The Young Turks. And we've talked about the news that one of the hosts of The Young Turks, the woman, has made because she's the super hyper progressive person. And yet she's gotten so much backlash. Tony, I think it was an article that you read not long ago. Yeah. She's gotten a lot of backlash because she is saying, don't identify me as, a pregnant person.
Yeah, birthing person.
A pregnant person.
Yeah, I'm a pregnant woman.
Yeah. Don't say anything about, chest feeding to me. That is so completely offensive. Well, this week she's come out and said progressives are at fault because of the identity politics that we have condoned and made acceptable in society. It is our fault and it's our doing that now we're accepting things like the terminology chest feeding or, pregnant person. And she's like, we did this. I can't believe I'm saying it, but the progressives did this, and now we have to lay in our bed.
Doc, I'm not sure that the progressive left as a whole is having an awakening, but it sure is nice to at least hear a couple people recognize the truth.
Well, I was around in Carterland, and Reagan was my first vote, and I just remember, you young pups, you were still, at your mom's bosom, whatever. I mean, you guys don't even remember that.
I was alive during Carter.
Yeah, right. And probably wearing those red rubber boots to kindergarten, right? But I can tell you, this atmosphere feels eerily like it did in the Carter era. Americans were hurting, and there was just a thirst for a different direction and for some positive energy in the country. And, I maybe those with enough memory in the Democrat and progressive movement, maybe there's some of those that remember that and they don't want to have another conservative bruising like Reagan gave them in 80. I can only hope. Maybe that's some rose-colored glasses, but maybe they're just trying to forestall that.
Yeah. Doc, great stuff this afternoon. As always, really appreciate your time. Dr. Randy Tobler, of course, you can hear The Randy Tobler Show every Saturday morning at 6 a.m. here on News Talk STL and every day at 4 o'clock there at the Eagle in Columbia, Missouri. I know you got to get ready for your show this afternoon, Doc, so We'll let you go, and we'll be listening on Saturday. Thanks, as always, for your time.
Thanks, guys. Hope you feel better, Katie.
Thank you.
Yeah, great stuff. Thanks, Doc. Awesome stuff there from Dr. Randy Tobler. All right. I mentioned earlier that Dick Durbin and Justice Samuel Alito are in a war of words. I want to give you those details and tell you about that issue in just a moment. Also, Katie, Lizzo's not letting her backup dancers go to the bathroom?
She's in hot water.
What is going on?
Yeah, she's in hot water.
They're having to go, like, wherever they're at, even if it's on stage, because they're not allowed to take a break. Lizzo, not looking good right now. And on the same day that Taylor Swift, the news broke about Taylor Swift giving all the people that have worked on her tour that she's on millions of dollars in bonuses. So, two very different stories.
Stark comparison.
Yeah, stark comparison. I want to talk about that as well as we go through the afternoon here on Colombo and Katie on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Like us on Facebook at News Talk STL. St. Louis's place to talk.
Freedom of speech is one of the anchors of our society.
News Talk STL.
Can't recommend the cleaning pros at Zero Res enough, and right now they have an amazing offer that you can take advantage of. As we mentioned, it's August. I can't believe that it is August, but to celebrate the new month, Zero Res has an offer for you. All you have to do is mention the Colombo special when you book a cleaning in August, and you will get 3 rooms of carpets cleaned starting at $129, and you can take $75 off an air duct cleaning. What a great time to take advantage of all of these things. If you've not had your carpets cleaned recently by Zero Res, think about all of the dander and germs and bacteria that is just gathered in your carpets, because not only are your carpets a huge investment in your home, but they're also the #1 air filter. And as this special gives you an opportunity to get your carpets cleaned and your air ducts cleaned as well, don't forget that Zero Res is there for you for just about every surface in your home. So carpets, air ducts, but also upholstery, furniture, tile. They can clean just about any surface in your home, and I can tell you that from a very personal experience, because they have cleaned about every surface in the Colombo home over the years, and they are absolutely the best. They have rescued our home over and over from just wear and tear from kids, pets, life in general. The cleaning pros at Zero Res are the best. So book a cleaning in the month of August and make sure you mention the Colombo special. And again, you will get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned starting at just $129, and you can take $75 off an air duct cleaning. You can call and book now at 314-474-2020 or online anytime at ZeroResSTL.com. Spell it forwards or backwards. It spells the same, Zero Res.
This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
It's like a high-stakes game of tic-tac-toe or checkers. Any damning information against Joe Biden and new charges issued against Donald Trump. Book it. It's on the calendar every time. And there's something in the midst of these charges you might be overlooking. You take the 4 charges filed yesterday and you add them to the charges involving the classified documents. If convicted, Trump could be facing 560 years in prison if served consecutively. And then on top of that, one of the charges recently released includes a possibility of the death penalty. Conspiracy of rights includes a penalty of death if anyone else is killed in your action. For instance, the January 6th event. And you have the other charges that were issued the other day. Conspiracy to defraud the U.S., conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding, obstruction of an attempt to obstruct an official proceeding. But nowhere in there do I see attempting to overthrow the government. I thought that was the prime shout we heard from the Democrats constantly. January 6th was an effort to overthrow the government. And yet there are still no charges to that effect. You want to know why? It's all been a lie.
For more, listen to the Larry Connors USA Daily Report tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
Hundreds of homeowners and businesses had or will have water main breaks. Wellington Environmental has a warning. You can clean up the water, but if you're not checking areas where the water leaked in the walls where you can't see it, you could end up exposing your family, your employees, your clients to hazardous mold. Wellington Environmental reminds you, if that mold is not detected, properly treated, removed, that is a risk, a liability you do not want. Wellington clients, including hospitals and schools, trust Wellington to make their environments safe. Call 314-644-4930, 644-4930. AAA rating with the Better Business Bureau, 314-644-4930. Wellington Environmental, your world, cleaner, better, safer. Be well with Wellington.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
We checked the chat box for a couple months. Let's do that. Kamala wasn't a diversity hire. She was a Sealy Posturepedic hire.
Stop.
That's what she said. I'm just reading.
Maybe she worked at a mattress store.
This is all I'm doing. I'm just relaying the information. She's just asking, what in the Willie Brown is going on? We're back in 5.
Vic Porcelli,
Live and local weekday mornings at 9
on News Talk STL.
You can spend a lot of restless nights trying to figure out how you're going to make all those credit card payments. Why not consolidate all your debt into one manageable payment? My friends at Homestead Financial Mortgage can help with a cash-out refinance. Contact them today. Take the first step in regaining your financial freedom. Use my website, larry.homesteadfinancial.com. Take charge of your financial future. Go to my website, larry.homesteadfinancial.com.
If we've learned anything from recent news, it's that unexpected things are happening. Your gut tells you there's something very wrong going on, and all the evidence suggests that there is. Government emails are hacked. There's talk of how to fight World War III, and trade of grains and food are being disrupted. Those in charge say everything's fine. Stop noticing, but you know better. It's time to invest in self-reliance and emergency food storage now, more than ever. My Patriot Supply, the nation's largest emergency preparedness company, is the place you can trust. Go to mypatriotsupply.com and secure their best-selling 3-month emergency food kits. Each contains tasty breakfasts, lunch, and dinners, averaging over 2,000 calories per day. Get at least one food kit for each family member. For a limited time, save 25%, plus get free shipping on all their 3-month emergency food kits. Go to mypatriotsupply.com today. It's time to prepare for what's coming. mypatriotsupply.com.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
We're giving away tickets to Mannheim Steamroller at 6:50 and talking election security on Thursday. How do you know your vote is secure and counted?
Mornings starting at 5:30
on News Talk STL. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, 99.1 HD3 and newstalkstl.com.
Welcome back to Colombo and Katie on 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Dick Durbin and Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito are in a war of words. Dick Durbin has blasted the justice for expressing his views on a controversial bill to institute a mandatory code of conduct on the nation's highest court. Quote, this is Justice Alito. He says, quote, let's be clear. Where is the rest of the quote?
Wow, he's really
yeah, let's be clear. Justice Alito is not the one of his member of the... Oh, okay, I'm sorry. This was Dick Durbin. I thought this was Alito's quote. This is Durbin's quote. He says, quote, let's be clear. Justice Alito is not the 101st member of the United States Senate. His intervention in Article 1 activity is unwise and unwelcome. Again, this is Illinois Senator Dick Durbin in a statement that he put out yesterday afternoon. His comments come as a direct response to Alito, who, in a recent Wall Street Journal interview, criticized a new bill pushed by Durbin and his Democrat colleagues that would impose new ethics rules on the justices in the Supreme Court. Congress did not create the Supreme Court, Alito said to the Journal, adding that the Constitution did. He said, quote, I know this is a controversial view, but I'm willing to say it. No provision in the Constitution gives them the authority to regulate the Supreme Court, period. Again, that is Justice Alito. Durbin continued to fire back at Alito's comments, saying that he is providing speculative public commentary on a bill that is still going through the legislative process. The ethical conduct of the Supreme Court justices is a serious matter, says Durbin, within this committee's jurisdiction. Ensuring ethical conduct by the justices is critical to the court's legitimacy. So all of this is related to, I don't know if you remember, there was that thing about Clarence Thomas going fishing with that billionaire friend. And
yes.
Remember that story?
Yes.
And Clarence Thomas, like, all of that was documented. He reported to the ethics committee, everything that he was, like, it wasn't a secret trip. He was going fishing with his friend. He told everybody where he was going, who he was going with. So these rules already exist. But because the Democrats are targeting the court and trying to sow distrust and, maybe forward, start the whole packing the court conversation up again. This is why they are doing this. Many people in the legal experts are saying, look, these ethics regulations already exist. You're just you're just trying to create something for the sake of pushing a political agenda. What a surprise from the Democrats. But Dick Durbin and Samuel Alito having it out in a war of words. This is going to continue. Senator Kennedy had some great comments about this. He said, you don't have to be Oliver Wendell Scalia to figure out that this legislation is meant to be a court-killing machine, the Republican from Louisiana charged. It would allow any jackaloon out there in America in a tinfoil hat whose own dog thinks he's an utter nutter to file a motion to recuse the United States Supreme Court justice. He said that would
Nobody
be
likes
a
Senator Kennedy.
Positively court-destroying piece of legislation. So interesting to see that, and something we will continue to keep an eye on. And also something that we were keeping an eye on. Katie, we've only got a couple minutes left here, but tell me about Lizzo and the controversy that she has found herself in, because all I read was a headline about not letting backup dancers go to the bathroom, and so they were like having to go in their costumes. What is happening?
That is not even the worst of it. 3 professional dancers have filed a lawsuit against Lizzo for allegedly creating a hostile work environment, and also saying that 9 charges against this Grammy-winning artist, Lizzo, and her team spanning from May of 2021 to May of 2023. They said that she weight-shamed, forced to endure sexually denigrating behavior, preaching about sexuality, and pressured them into participating in disturbing sexual behaviors and shows. So there's one end of the spectrum where there's this hostile work environment, not being able to go on bathroom breaks, being talked down to, being yelled at. Lizzo was even approaching one of these 3 dancers with her fists down, like snapping her knuckles, yelling at one of these dancers, looking like she was going to attack them before being held back by some people in management. But even outside of all of that, she also was having these dancers go to these shows and commit acts that the dancers said and vocalized, I am very, very uncomfortable doing. And so she has 9 charges against her right now. She's come out with a statement saying all of this is this has been way overdone, sensationalized stories. We'll just have to see what's going to happen next.
And unfortunately, when I read a story like that, it's kind of like when I read a story about Joe Biden, that I'll believe that she'll be held to account if she did treat these people like this. She certainly should be held to account, but I'll believe it when I see it. Unfortunately, I mean, we see people like Chris Brown still running around with no consequences. So what a crazy story, and one of the many that we will continue to keep an eye on. That is going to do it for Colombo and Katie this afternoon. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast if you're not already, so you never miss anything that happens here on the show. Colombo and Katie back tomorrow at 2. Keep it right here for the O'Reilly Report next, followed by the Tim Jones and Chris Arp Show at 4. Then the Larry Connors USA Daily Report at 6. Thank you so much for listening to us and supporting us here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Hi there, Brian Fritz here to let you know to come on down to Fritz's Frozen Custard to satisfy all your summer cravings. With incredible desserts like the strawberry shortcake, the pineapple upside down, or our famous banana splits, there's always something for everyone in the family to try. With locations in Florissant, St. Peters, Valley Park, O'Fallon, or Wentzville, we look forward to seeing you and your family at Fritz's.
It's the best stuff in town, so you better get around to Fritz's Frozen Custard.
Now, the Free Market Minute, brought to you by the Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University.
I am here with Dr. Howard Wall. And Howard, we know that education needs to get better in this country. I'm hearing a lot about school choice and competition in schools. Can that actually help?
Well, imagine if supermarkets were organized like public schools. Money would go straight from the government to your assigned store, and they would choose your food for you and provide you with the same bag that everybody else gets. The bags at some very rich supermarkets might be full of gourmet food, but, a lot of us would end up with bags of government mac and cheese. If we wouldn't be happy with the food from these imaginary supermarkets, it's no surprise that, we're unhappy with what we get from our actual school system.
The John W. Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise at Lindenwood University fosters and examines market-oriented approaches to economic and social issues. To learn more, visit hammondinstitute.org.